Hi guys, look at that sunshine. What a fabulous day. Yep, Cardi's off. Didn't stay on for too long. This is lovely. There is a bit of a breeze, but it's behind me. It's actually pushed me along, guys. That's why I've ended up taking the Cardi off. I was getting far too hot. Come on, mate. This way. This way. Come on. Right. Quite a few of my subscribers have asked me about my friend Peter. They keep saying, who is this Peter? Well, my older subscribers will know all about Peter, but for you who don't know about Peter, let me tell you about my friend Peter. Now, Peter is somebody I've known for many, many years, decades. I was introduced to Peter by his dad. Now, I worked at a garage, and Peter's dad turned up at the garage and asked me for the garage if we'd be willing to look after his son's car for him. Now, Peter's dad used to be a mechanic, and so Peter's dad himself used to look after Peter's car, but he was getting to the age where he realised he wouldn't be able to do it for much longer. So he wanted to start preparing the ground for when he was no longer there. And he came and asked me whether we'd be interested and willing to look after his son's car. So yes, I said, that'd be fine. And we signed his son up to the garage. Peter turned up the next day. Peter wasn't with his dad at the time. Peter didn't know his dad had been in and prepared the ground already. So Peter turns up the next day, introduces himself, and I book him in as one of the customers for the garage. And so that's the first time I met Peter. Peter soon discovered that I lived fairly close to him. And so at the weekends when I was at home, I'd be working in my drive. Peter would walk past, and as soon as he saw me, he'd come across and have a chat. Well, this became a regular event. Then he'd be coming in for a cup of tea and some biscuits. And before you know it, Peter had adopted me. And he was there all the time. Every weekend, Peter would turn up. Wasn't a problem, that was fine. Peter's dad passed away when he was 84, had a heart attack and unfortunately died. But Peter's dad had been very, very shrewd, and he'd set things up for his son, and Peter didn't realise his dad had already done this. He'd made a will, he'd got other family members involved in looking after Peter when he was gone. So Peter had a brother, a younger brother, but his younger brother lived in Belgium. Now, his younger brother had been ostracised from the family many years before that because of his sexual beliefs. And his father and mother and Peter had all been involved in ejecting him from the family as such. So once Peter's dad had died, Peter's mum I'd never ever met Peter's mum. She was gone before I ever met the family. So Peter was on his own. Now, Peter was fiercely independent. He had a little council bungalow. Peter is heavily disabled. He was born disabled from birth. He's born in 1939, and so he will be 86 this year. Oh my life. So he's outlived his dad already. His mum died when she was in her 60s apparently. Peter's younger brother died about 10 years ago. I believe he had a brain hemorrhage, but I wouldn't swear to that. But Peter's brother passed about 10 years ago. So again, I never actually met Peter's brother. So Peter has always been there. Now, Peter deteriorated around the COVID time. He became a little bit more fragile, a bit more frail. And he eventually had some nasty falls in his bungalow to the point where he ended up in hospital, and he was no longer able to look after himself. So when he did come out, he went into what they called a rehab, to see what he was capable of doing, if he was able to walk about and prepare his own food, which he wasn't. So he ended up going into a care home, and that's where he is now today. He's been in this particular care home now probably about 3 years, but now his health is again taking a little bit of a dip. Things are starting to go wrong on a regular basis. Whenever I speak to Peter, he's had a fall, or he's not well, something's happened. The doctor's always seen him. So Peter's on borrowed time, I think. I don't think Peter's going to be around for a lot longer, but that's how I know Peter. Now, I go and visit Peter every Sunday. Peter doesn't come out from the home anymore. I don't think he ever will now. He can't walk. He's been told not to get up. But that's the problem with Peter, because Peter's been so independent in his whole life. It's hard for Peter not to do things. He's constantly trying to do things, and that's going to be his downfall, I think. I think he's going to end up having a nasty fall because he won't sit down and do as he's told. So that's about Peter at the moment. He's still with us. I've spoken to him this morning, and he's okay this morning. He hasn't told me that he's fallen over, so that's good. So I've got my fingers crossed he'll still be there on Sunday. Not this Sunday. I said to him I'll go and see him next Sunday. He's fine with that. I'm going to go see my mum and dad this Sunday. So that's Peter in a nutshell. Fantastic fella. I'm proud to call him one of my friends. He's had a hard life from birth, guys. And he's conquered everything that's been put in front of him. He's managed to conquer and get round and sort. And if he hasn't, his dad or somebody has been able to help him. And he's such an incredible person to have gone through what he has from 1939, guys, to this present day. And he's still with us. What an incredible fella. Go on, off you go, guys. He wasn't supposed to live past his teens, apparently, when he was born. But there you go. He's still with us. So that's about my friend Peter. I love him to death. I will keep going to see him. I'd like him to keep going as long as he can. But again, it all depends on the quality of life at the end of the day. And at the moment, Peter's in a room with 4 square walls. He has got a window, so he can look out of his window, but that's about as far as he can go, unfortunately. But yeah, I love him to death. Right, I'm going to sign out now, guys, and I shall speak to you later. Bye-bye.